The first time I heard her yell it, it was like a jagged knife sliding across my chest. "You'll never be good enough for me." The words rang out in the crowded restaurant, bouncing off the white plaster walls and echoing in my ears long after the laughter of other diners had resumed. People stared. Forks hovered mid-air. Even the waiter froze with a glass in his hand. Smiled. Not the fake, polite smile, but the kind that comes from a place of deep, bitter understanding. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. Because I had known it for months. Maybe even years. Her name was Elena. She had the kind of beauty that could stop traffic. A cascade of chestnut hair, eyes that shifted between green and gold depending on the light, and a laugh that sounded like wind chimes in a summer breeze. When I met her, I thought I had found my universe. But universes can implode, and love can be a cruel illusion. We had been married for 7 years. On the surface we were perfect. Friends envied us. Co-workers whispered about how well we fit together. And my mother used to tell me I was the luckiest man alive. But perfection is often the mask worn by something rotten beneath. That night at the restaurant started like any other. Elena and I had gone to celebrate my promotion. I had worked tirelessly for it. Late nights, weekends, sacrificing birthdays and anniversaries. I was proud. She, however, had been distant all evening, tapping her manicured nails against the table, scrolling through her phone with that tight-lipped expression that meant she was holding back something. I tried to brush it off. I told myself it was stress, fatigue, maybe even jealousy. But when the words came, I realized it wasn't just a fleeting frustration. It was a declaration. "You'll never be good enough for me." I looked at her, really looked, for the first time in a long time. The anger in her eyes wasn't fleeting. It was satisfaction, almost triumph. And in that instant, something inside me shattered. "I guess I finally found that out tonight," I said softly, almost to myself, though loud enough for her to hear. The restaurant fell silent. Even Elena blinked, surprised by the calm in my voice. My smile didn't falter. It was brittle, like frost on glass, beautiful from afar but fragile, sharp enough to cut. We left the restaurant in silence. I drove without speaking, letting the city blur past us in streaks of neon and shadow. The house was empty when we arrived. I poured myself a drink and sat at the kitchen counter, staring into the amber liquid. She watched me, her arms crossed, her posture rigid. "Why did you say that?" asked finally. "I'm tired of pretending," she said. "Tired of smiling, of lying, of pretending you're enough. You aren't." The words were like acid. I should have been angry, screaming, throwing things. But all I could do was nod. Because deep down I had known. I had suspected that behind the smiles, the late-night texts she claimed were from work, and the sudden weekend trips, there was someone else. The proof came the next morning. I was going through our emails. She had left her laptop open, a mistake I couldn't resist. There it was. Messages between Elena and a man named Mark. Casual at first, innocent, almost playful. But the tone changed over weeks, months. Plans made behind my back, flirty banter, secret meetings. My heart sank with every word. I confronted her that evening. "You've been seeing him," I said, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil inside. Her face went pale, then hardened. "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think," I replied. "I've read the emails, Elena. The late nights, the trips, the lies. How long were you planning to keep this up?" She laughed, bitter and sharp. "Do you really think I can be happy with someone like you?" The pain cut deeper than any knife. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the validation of the insult she had hurled at me in front of strangers. I had been enough. I had worked, loved, sacrificed. But to her, it had never been enough. Left. That night, I slept on the couch, staring at the ceiling, the taste of betrayal bitter in my mouth. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I simply felt hollow. Days passed, and Elena's apologies came. Text messages, voicemails, promises of change. But I couldn't trust them. I couldn't trust her. Every word felt like a hollow echo of the past, a fragile mask that could crumble with the slightest touch. Then came the confrontation with her father. I had always liked him. He was warm, jovial, the kind of man you imagine giving advice over coffee. But that evening, as I sat across from him in the dimly lit living room, I realized he had been complicit. "Danny," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "I didn't want you to find out this way." "Find out what?" I asked, my chest tight. He sighed. "Elena, she's been struggling. Not with you but with herself. She doesn't know how to love properly, how to be honest. She's not ready." I shook my head. "Not ready? That's your excuse for betrayal." "I tried to warn you," he said softly. She'll come back if she can, but you need to be careful. She's complicated." Complicated. That word hit me like a slap. I realized then that I had been loving a ghost, chasing an illusion of a woman who existed only in the moment she allowed herself to. Weeks turned into months. Elena moved out temporarily, then permanently. We went through the motions of divorce. Legal paperwork, cold consultations, shared custody of a dog we both loved but now barely spoke to. I tried to hate her, but the truth was I still loved her. I still wondered what I could have done differently. Still wondered if I had been enough, even after everything. 9 months later I saw her again. It was at a small cafe downtown, the kind we used to frequent on lazy Sunday mornings. She looked different, tired, worn, the spark in her eyes dulled. She saw me, hesitated, then approached. I made a mistake," she said, her voice low. I studied her face, tracing the lines of sorrow that hadn't been there before. "You did," I said quietly. Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't move closer. Couldn't. Not after everything. I was wrong. I thought I needed someone else. But I didn't. It was you all along. I shook my head. "Elena, love isn't just about realizing mistakes. It's about trust, loyalty, and honesty. You destroyed that." She nodded, swallowing hard. "I know. And I'm sorry. I wish I could take it back." I wanted to say something that could fix the years of heartbreak, the nights of sleepless torment, the moments of doubt and self-blame. But there was nothing to say. Words were useless now. Instead I smiled. Not bitterly, not with anger, but with the quiet strength that comes from surviving something that could have destroyed you. "Maybe one day," I said softly, "we can be friends. But that's all I can offer you now." She nodded again, tears spilling freely. "I understand." We parted ways, the sun dipping behind the city skyline. And for the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't felt since that night in the restaurant. Freedom. Freedom from someone who had never truly loved me the way I deserved. Freedom from betrayal, from lies, from the gnawing question of self-worth. Freedom to rebuild, to breathe, to be enough for myself. And as I walked away, I realized something profound. Love is not just about finding someone who makes your heart race. It's about finding someone who stays, who fights, who chooses you, even when it's inconvenient, hard, or frightening. And I had survived loving someone who couldn't. Had survived. And that, at last, was enough.